Anybody else drink coffee? Oh my God. Whew. So if you guys thought that I was acting in the last video about putting yourself first, now you can see that that was no acting. Welcome back, friends. How's everyone doing? It's almost the end of the week. Do you guys miss me? I know it's been such a long time since you saw me, but I hope you guys aren't sick of me yet. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos for you guys, and I really feel like we're building something here, something special, and I really want to bring together like a sense of community. So today I wanted to talk about the #1 mentality that I believe is holding us back and keeping us stuck, and that is the victim mentality. So what is the victim mentality? Basically, it means when you believe that someone or something outside of yourself, so external circumstances, are causing you distress and there's nothing that you can do about it. Now, don't get me wrong. Shitty things happen to us all the time, and I wanted to share with you 4 tips that I've used to break the victim mentality. The first one is to remember that you always have a choice. Okay, I know it's not rocket science, but did you hear that? Let me repeat that. You always have a choice. I know that sometimes when we're in a situation, we feel like there's really nothing that we can do. Maybe we're in a very bad work environment and we need the money and we can't just quit, right? Or maybe, we have a difficult relationship or situation with one of our relatives or one of our loved ones. So maybe it's like a health situation. So I'm not saying that every situation is easy, but because we can't choose what happens to us, but we can definitely choose how we respond, right? So just remember, you always have a choice. And I'll explain more what I'm talking about with my next point. So my next point is to take ownership. So now most of the bad things that happen to us are outside of our control, right? If we lose a job, we're in a bad job, we find out that someone we're dating isn't the person we thought they were, we are with difficult relatives, or maybe you have like a health situation, whatever it is. Some of those things are not something that we could have prevented, but we can choose to do something about it. We can see how we are contributing to the situation. So are there boundaries that you can set, for instance? Are there small changes that you can make? For instance, can you maybe like change your diet and maybe work out to improve your health, or to like maybe get into a more positive mood around the people that you are dealing with. I mean, even something so small like that can make a huge difference. I know it's definitely worked for me when I was at one of my lowest points after I graduated from grad school. I didn't have a lot of money. I was in between jobs and I was living with family after I was over 30 years old. And so what helped me was to, work out consistently and eat clean. And that actually made me so happy that no matter what was around me, my surroundings, I was like in a completely zen space. So definitely don't underestimate those very small changes that you can do. And if it's like a negative, like a toxic work environment, maybe you may not be able to leave right away, but you can start planning your exit strategy. And knowing that you're already planning to leave and applying to other jobs can already motivate you and keep you sane in the process. So so just know that there's always something that you can do to get out of that victim role. And one last point I wanted to make about that is that most of the time, and this goes back to the boundaries that I mentioned, but most of the time The reason why things are happening to us is because we're not being assertive in our boundaries, in what we need and want. So we're avoiding having difficult conversations. So how can you maybe reflect on this challenging situation you're in and see how you can have a difficult conversation with someone? Now, the next tip is my favorite tip. This one has been a game changer. I remember I had a friend many years ago who was practicing or studying to be a lawyer, and I was at the time going through a breakup, and I was so sad. I was like missing the person and, you know, just not over the breakup. And she basically convinced me out of my own breakup. That's the beautiful thing about lawyers. You know, they're paid to argue their point of view, or, you know, for their client, and it's just very convincing. And the same thing with a salesperson. Like a salesperson the best salesperson will be able to sell you anything, no matter the adversities or situation, right? So you have to think of yourself in that way. Basically, you have to be your own advocate, your own salesperson, and you may not be able to like change maybe the situation sometimes, but how can you make it work to your advantage? And this is something that it really sunk in for me. Like a few years ago, I was going through a rough patch with my job. I basically wanted, you know, more like career progression at my job, and I realized that wasn't going to happen. And, you know, I felt like, you know, in the consulting world, it's not very stable. So I just felt like, okay, like I felt disillusioned. I felt like there wasn't anything I could do. I felt like, you know, they were dangling a carrot, but nothing was actually, you know, offered in the end. So even though I worked really hard and everything. So for a long time, I kind of, the rose-colored glasses came off, and I just felt like a victim. I felt like demotivated, and I felt stuck, and I thought, okay, well, there's nothing I can do here, and I can't quit my job tomorrow right away because I love what I do, and also I don't have a backup, right? So it was gonna take time, and I didn't know what I even wanted to do afterwards. So even though I was kind of in this like unhappy situation, I decided to take my power back, and I just decided that how was I going to view this situation differently? Like, how could I make it work for me? And then I started thinking that, okay, well, actually, if I'm consulting, then that means that my schedule is flexible. And if my schedule is flexible, that means that I can actually look for other opportunities, right? And, you know, I can also have more free time to do other things that I want to do. And so, yeah, and basically from that perspective, I basically owned, you know, the situation, and I realized like that I was gonna make it work for me, and I was going to then use it to increase more flexibility and earning potential. And because of that, my situation has improved in the sense that now, you know, work comes to me many times without me having to look for it. I've also been able to explore many different opportunities that I wouldn't have had the chance to do before if, you know, if this situation hadn't happened, or if I just, you know, felt like the victim and just, you know, went about the work in a very negative space and not actually taking any action. So just know that even though you can be in a bad situation, there's always a way. You have to find a way to make it work for you if you know you are stuck in that situation. For instance, you're in a home environment that is not ideal for you, but how can you make that environment feel the coziest or most welcoming so that, you know, you can feel inspired in that space while you are there temporarily. Now, the final tip that I wanted to share is to remember that if it's not a blessing, it's a lesson. So this experience that you're going through, while it's not necessarily the most pleasant, it is teaching you something. And if you look back on your life, everything that you've gone through has brought you to the person, has shaped you into the person that you've become. So I don't believe in regrets. I think that even the hard stuff is what helps us become the beautiful, resilient, and amazing people that we are today. So because of that, I don't even necessarily see situations or people that have wronged me in the past even in a negative way anymore. Like I kind of forgive them, and I forgive myself too, because sometimes we don't forgive ourselves, right? Because we let ourselves become a victim, and that's sometimes hard to deal with. But what I remind myself is that I believe people do the best that they can, and I believe that ultimately hurt people. But also, I'm actually kind of grateful, in a sense, for some of those situations, many of those situations actually, or if not all. And I think that if you, again, not look at yourself as the victim necessarily, but you use every situation, even the most painful ones, as a lesson for you to continue to improve yourself and become the person that you want to become, then it was all worth it, I think. So yeah, I know this can be kind of like a touchy or heavy subject, but I'd love to know what you think. And if there's anything that you would like to share in the comment section below, in terms of, one way that you're going to, take back your power, I'd love to hear it below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.